Hello everyone, welcome to Machine Coding Interview. I am Sanjay and in this course we will discuss the code flow of Snake and Ladder game. So before going the code flow, let's see the structure of this project. So in the Snake and Ladder, we have the default IDE project which has the default settings of the project. Then we have the Maven folder which has the Maven setting of the project. Then we have diagrams. In the diagrams we have the snake and ladder game image, and then we have the class diagram of the snake and ladder game, and then we have the use case diagram of snake and ladder where we have the exceptions and the models. So let's see the models. So let's start from the ladder. In the ladder we have one bottom property and one top property. Bottom means what is the bottom of the ladder? It will be a number in the snake and ladder game, and the top is the top of the ladder where the player is going to climb up once he is at the bottom of the ladder. And these are nothing but the getters and setters of the ladder. So whenever we are creating any ladder, we have to pass the top and bottom of the ladder. Then we have the snake class. In the snake class, we have two properties, head and tail. Head is the head of the snake. If the player is on this cell, then the snake will bite the player and the player will be at the tail of the snake. And these are just the header and setter of the snake. Then we have a dice, how many number of faces we want to keep in the dice. And then we have assigned a random property which will give any random face of the dice. So whenever player is playing the game, he will roll the dice, and on rolling the dice, he will get one random number between 1 to the number of faces. Then we have a board. In the board, we have the size of the board, we have the snakes in the board, and we have the ladders in the board. And these are nothing but the getters and setters of the board properties. Then we have game status. So when we have created the game, it will be not started status. When we have started the game, it will be in progress status. And once we have found the winner, then it will be in over state. The next class is player class. So the player will have the name property, the symbol of the player, and the cell. So initially when the player is starting the game, he will be at cell number 1. Then we have the game class. So the game class has these properties. So the game will consist of a board, game will have the number of players in it, and game will have a dice. So whenever player is playing the game, he will have to roll a dice on the board, and based on the face of the dice, he will go to a particular cell. And in the game, there is one method, execute next move. So whenever player is playing the game, based on the execute next move, he will start the game. So let's understand what is there inside execute next move. In execute next move, first we will get who is currently playing the game. And we will see what is the next player index, and we will get the modulus from player size. Means let's say if any player is playing the game, the next player index will be 0. 0 will be divided from the player size. Let's say if there are 2 players playing the game, then 0 divided by 2, so the modulus will be 0. It means the player with index 0 will be playing the game. Now when the player 0 has finished its chance, the second player with the index 1 will start playing the game. So 1 modulo 2 will give 1 as the answer. Now the player with 1 as index will play the game. Once player 1 has finished the game, again we will come here to find the player. This time the next player index will be 2. So 2 modulo 2 will be 0. Means the player with the index 0 will play the game. So once player with index 0 has done playing, now the next player index will be 3. So 3 modulo 2 equal to 1. Means the player with index 1 will be playing this game. So based on the number of players and based on the next player index, we will find who is currently playing the game. So we will find the player, then we will get the roll count by dicing the roll. And now we will see the current cell of the player. So the current cell of the player will be the player current cell plus the roll that we have got by rolling the dice. And then we are printing this. Now we will check what is the current cell value. When the player current cell is at the bottom of the ladder, then what we will do? We will climb to the ladder. It means we will get the top value of the ladder and assign it to the current cell, and then we will break out. And suppose if the current cell of the player is at the head of the snake, it means snake will bite the player and then the player will go down at the tail of the snake. So the player's current cell position will be the tail of the snake. So by using this for loop, we are checking for all the snakes and we are checking if the current position of the player is at the head of any snake. If this is in head of any snake, then the player will go down to the tail of the snake. And in the same way, we are checking for all the ladders. And if the current player's position is at the bottom of the ladder, then the player will be climbed to the top of the ladder. So the player's current cell will be the ladder's top position, and here the current player's cell is at the tail of the snake. In this statement, what we are checking, if the current player's position is more than the size of the board. If it is more than the size of the board, then we would not do anything and we would assign the current player's position as the player cell. So what is happening in this statement? If the current cell is greater than the board size, then the player will not move. So here we are checking if the current cell is more than the size of the board. Then what we are doing is current cell equal to player's get cell. Means we are not moving to any position. And if the current cell reaches to the end of the board, it means we have found the winner of this game. It means if the board size is equal to the current cell, means the winner is this player, and we will set the game status to over. After doing all this, since we have found the current cell of the player, we would just setting the player's position. We would be just setting the cell of the current player. Then we are printing the position of the player, and then we are incrementing the index of the next player so that we would get the next player. So this is execute next move which we will be using while playing the game. So here we can see just the setters and getters of the property of the game. So all the classes are done. Now let's see how the application runs. So this is our demo class. In the demo class, we will see how we can play this game. So we are using a scanner here which will take the size of the board. We will get the size of the board. The board size can be anything, but for simplicity, we can take 50 or we can take 100. Now this is the validation where we are just checking if the size of the board is not less than 3. If it is less than 3, then we can say that board size cannot be less than 3. Means there should be at least 3 cells to play this game. Then we are asking for the number of players. So here we are checking if the number of players is less than 2. Means if the player is only 1, then this game cannot be played. And we are throwing this exception. Then after getting the number of players, we are simply creating the players by asking its name and the symbol of the player. And then we are creating the player and adding into our players array list. Then we are entering the number of snakes. How many snakes we want to be there in this board. If the number of snakes is more than the size of the board, then we are again throwing the input param exception. Number of snakes cannot be more than the size of the board. Then we are creating an array list and then we are creating the number of the snakes. So when we are creating any snake, we have to find the head of the snake and we have to find the tail of the snake. So we are asking the user what is the head for the snake and what is the tail for the snake. We are creating a snake and adding into our snake array list. In the same way, we are asking the user how many number of ladders will be there. If the number of ladders is more than the size of the board, then we are throwing exception by saying number of ladders cannot be more than the size of the board. And then we are just creating a number of ladders. Then we are just creating the ladders. And for creating the ladder, what do we need? We need the top of the ladder and we need the bottom of the ladder. So we create the ladder by assigning the top of the ladder and bottom of the ladder. And then we are setting this ladder in the ladder array list. After getting the size, snakes and ladders, we are creating a board because board need these 3 things for initialization. And once we have got the board for playing the game, we need players which we have already created, then the board which we have created just now, and then the dice which we will be using in our game. So for a dice, we need number of faces. How many faces would be there in the dice? That we are asking the user here, and we are assigning that, and then we are passing that number of faces in the dice. So let's start the game. So when we are starting the game, we would set the status as in progress. You might be thinking why we are not assigned the status to not started. So we could have assigned the status to not started, but since we are starting the game, we should do that thing at the start of the game. Not here, because we are just starting the game, so it should be in progress status. Now, what is the use of this status, like in progress status and not started status and over status? So let's say we are creating a game management system where we have multiple players are playing the game. Some players are playing in game 1, some players are playing in game 2, some players are playing in game 3. So all the games will be having some different status. So based on the status, we can see which games are currently being played and which games are over and which games have not been started. So this status is mainly for managing the game. And other than that, we can find that the game is over or not. So for playing the game, what we would do, we would continuously checking the status of the game, if the game status is over or not. If the game status is not over, it means the game will be played continuously. So for understanding this, let's open this game.execute move. So this game.execute move, we have already explained what it will do. It will find the player will roll the dice, the player's current position will be changed. If the player is at the bottom of the ladder, then it will climb the ladder, and if the player is at the head of the snake, it will go down at the tail of the snake. And if the player's current cell is at the end of the board, it means we have found the winner of the game, and then we will set the status of the game as game over. If we have not found the winner, means the current cell is not at the end of the game, then we would just set the current player cell as the current cell, and we would increment the next player index so that next player will roll the dice and play the game. And after this statement, once our game is over, we would find the winner and we would print the winner of this game. So this is the flow of the game. Now let's run this. Okay, so enter the size of the board. Let's say the size of the board is 100. Enter the number of players. Let's say there are 2 players. Enter the name of the player. Let's say I am playing. So my name is Sanjay. I have entered Sanjay. My symbol is S. Then Ranjit is the second player. His symbol is. Number of snakes we want is 3. So the head of the snake is, let's say, 30. And the tail of the snake is 7. The head of the snake is 70. The tail of the snake is 56. The head of the snake is at 90. And the tail of the snake is 26. Now the number of ladders. Let's say there are only 2 ladders. Okay. So the ladder top position is 87 and ladder bottom position is at 25. The second ladder top position is 94 and the second ladder bottom position is 36. Now the number of players, number of faces of the dice. Let's say there are only 6 faces of the dice. So yeah, so the game is played by using this parameter, and now let's see what is happening in this output. So dice roll at 1. So both player is at position 1 when the game is started, and dice roll is at 1, means the player S will be at cell 2, because earlier he was at cell 1. 1 plus 1 equal to 2. So player S is at cell 2. Now dice roll is 2. It will be the second player turn, which is R means Ranjit. So Ranjit was earlier in cell 1. So 1 plus 2 equal to 3. Now Ranjit is at cell 3. Now player 1 has rolled a dice who was earlier at 2. So 2 plus 2 equal to 4. Now player 2 has rolled a dice. So earlier player 2 was at position 3. So 3 plus 4 equal to 7. Now dice roll is equal to 1. So player S was at position 4. 4 plus 1 equal to 5. Now player S is rolling the dice. So R was at position 7. So 7 plus 1 equal to 8. So in the same way, the game will be played. So here we can see this message, hurry, I got the ladder, I am climbing. So who is climbing? Since player R was in 34, it was player S turn. So player S rolled the dice, he got 3 and player S earlier position was 33. So 33 plus 3 equal to 36. So player got the ladder whose bottom was at 36 and he climbed at 94. Now player S has climbed to 94. Now it is the turn of player. So player R current dice roll is 2. So what was the player R's previous position? He was at 34. So 34 plus 2 is equal to 36. So he has got the same ladder. So they both climb to 94. But after 94, we can see that player R is at 94. It was player S turn. So player S got 2. So he reached to 96. But then player R rolled the dice and he got 6. So earlier he was at 94, he got 6. So player R is at cell 100. So player R reached to the end of the board. So he is the winner. So this is how the game is played. In this game, there are few things which can be taken as an assignment. And what are those things? We have skipped some of the validations. So you can take an assignment, add the validations for the snake and ladder positions because we have not done any kind of validation for the snake and ladder positions. And we can also take an assignment for the roll as 6. So whenever any player is rolling the dice and if he is getting 6, then he will get another chance to roll the dice. So these two things you can take as an assignment for this game. Yeah, that's all from this video. See you in the next class.